Good evening. In South Vietnam today, a ghastly chapter was added to the pathos of war that has gripped that country for the past 30 years. A huge C-5 Air Force cargo plane carrying 243 South Vietnamese orphans to the United States, the first in the government-ordered airlift, crashed in a rice paddy near Saigon just minutes after takeoff.
Walter Cronkite reported news of that plane crash on April 4th, 1975. Less than a month later, the capital city of Saigon was captured by the communist Viet Cong. By then, many more Vietnamese orphans had been flown out of their homeland, and now Barry Petersen tells us that some of those children, long since grown up, are coming home.
This is holy ground, come by heart.
They have come to remember that terrible day in that terrible war.
Come by heart.
Some of those put aboard the plane had been born only weeks ago. Most seemed to be between the ages of 2 and 8. There were pieces of wreckage scattered across a half a mile of rice paddy. Shirts, books, diapers, all too grotesque to describe further.
Holy ground, come by heart.
The crash killed 138 people. 78 of them were children.
Holy ground, come by.
As we read the names of our beloved dead,
But orphans continued to be evacuated until the frantic end of the Vietnam War. In all, some 3,000 children came to the U.S. Like Toby Snyder, barely 6 pounds when she came to America.
I have a real love for life, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I am a survivor. I'm a fighter.
And Stacy Meredith, given up by her mother when she was 2.
As a child, you just don't understand how a parent could ever let you go.
do not stand at my grave. And
Sister Mary Nell Gage volunteered at the orphanages starting in 1973.
one of the first things that I remember seeing was one of the little children reaching out from the crib and grabbing a cockroach to play with it. And I was horrified, but then, you know, pretty soon this is the way it is. These are the cards that are dealt.
The Vietnamese say hundreds of thousands of children were orphaned by the war. Of those who came to America, some had lost their parents, or they were children who had American fathers that Vietnamese families didn't want. But most babies came with no story.
We had children who were found in the market, found on a bus,
Just left.
and then the police brought them. It wasn't just a moment in time, but we're bound forever.
She thinks it's like a little village.
Yeah.
For 20 years now, Sister Mary Nell has been guiding orphans back to Vietnam and to the orphanages where they were babies.
Nathan, what a pleasure.
On this day in Loveland, Colorado, she's at a Bon Voyage party for Toby, now married with 3 sons.
You, so good to see you.
It is so nice.
And soon on her way to Vietnam.
I've always been curious of my roots. You know, I look around and most of my friends, they know where they're born. And I've just never been able to really know that. And so this trip to Vietnam will be as close as I can get to that.
All she knows is that she was a 2-pound infant when she arrived at the orphanage. These few pieces of paper contain all the information she has about her beginnings. What emotions do you have when you look at this? This is you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing and astonishing that any of us survived. I guess quite a few of us passed on.
Uh-oh, I think it's all gone.
Stacy Meredith also survived, but was haunted by not knowing her birth mother or why she was dropped off at an orphanage as a toddler. Her 19-year-old mother gave sparse details. Her name, that Stacy's father was an American soldier, that her family came from the Kanto region in Vietnam's Mekong Delta, but not why she gave up Stacy.
There's a part of it that still hurts, and I miss her. I miss her terribly.
Explain that to me. How do you miss someone that you certainly couldn't even remember?
I miss the idea of having her in my life. The fact that she kept me for a couple years before she gave me up, to me, tells me that she loved me very much, and she tried. She did what she could.
It's a long trip back to Vietnam.
We made it! Yay!
Not just the hours on a plane, but the trip back in time. In Saigon, now Ho Chi Minh City,
Here we are.
Sister Mary Nell takes Toby to her orphanage. It is still operating,
It's a toddler room, huh?
still a place for abandoned babies.
Oh, did he wave? Did she wave?
Look at you.
What do you feel when you see these babies and this is where you came from?
Just very amazed and humbled, and I can't believe that could be the very room that I was nourished in.
Hello, xin chào.
Perhaps only a child who never knew her birth parents or even her homeland can understand how important this moment is, finding at least this much of her beginnings.
I can't put words to it. I can't believe that, you know.
This is where you came from.
My life started here because of people who cared so much, and they had hope for us.
After 24 hours of ridiculous flying and waiting.
But for Stacy, the journey might be more revealing and come with more answers.
There's a lot of feelings going on.
In Ho Chi Minh City, she connects with a Vietnamese TV network together with a man who's been tracking down the families of orphans and discovers they may have located hers.
I'm scared that it's not them. I'm scared of getting my heart broken.
To meet them, she and her husband Peter traveled to Can Tho, 100 miles to the south. But what might be the best of news is also the worst. If this is the right family, then No Tay Diep, who may be her mother, died of cancer. Stacy has a great likeness to her mother, says Uncle Hai. Her aunt says her mother always missed her, that she tried all her life to find her.
Please tell them that I'm sorry, that I'm too late to meet her.
I know I didn't look like it, but it made me extremely happy. I got a lot of answers at that moment.
Like what?
That she loved me, that she thought of me, that I wasn't just an accident. I wasn't an inconvenience.
But there is still one big if. If this is really her family.
I need one of you to fill this out for me with their information.
Stacy takes DNA samples from Uncle Hai and a man who may be her half-brother.
There it is.
It takes 2 weeks to get the answer.
Whoa.
The DNA is a match.
Uncle Hai and my brother are very, very close matches.
I think you have a family in Vietnam, Stacy.
Wow.
It's a moment she's been dreaming of for 40 years. In Vietnam, she went to the grave of the woman she now knows is her mother.
They could not emphasize enough how tough her life was. her heart ached for me after I was gone and how she continued to search for me.
Can somebody please tell them thank you for being here and welcoming me into your family?
It took 40 years to complete a journey that started in a war and led to a new life and ended back where it all began, where Stacy could finally tell her mother what that little girl sent to America always wanted to say, "Mom, I love you."